Hello! A couple of video recorders which have been in my workshop waiting for me to work on for a very long time are these a couple of Sony SL-C9 Betamax video recorders. And last time I looked at them, I think they had a power supply fault, but it was a very long time ago, so we need to re-examine the whole situation. So I luckily have service manual, proper service manual, but also I will share with you online on this YouTube video an online version which I've downloaded, which isn't quite as clear as this one. We also have an original remote control, and we also have the benefit of, as well as these two reasonably smart machines, one's missing its front panel but otherwise they look okay, we also have the benefit of a scrap machine for spare parts whose working order is not entirely known. So I'm not even going to attempt to repair the scrapper. Let's see if we can get at least one of these going. So the first thing we'll have to do, I think, is plug them in and just see what they do. An incredibly common problem is that the display won't work. So I really do not expect the display to work on either of these, because even if the machine itself works, the display voltages are supplied by a DC to DC converter. That fails, and it also takes out the tuner. Doesn't stop the machine from working, but it obviously makes it cosmetically not so good, and it's hard to see what you're doing. I've done a video in the past where I repair the DC to DC converter, but that was a Mark II type. If either of these has the Mark I DC converter, the one that doesn't have holes drilled in it, then that's a much harder prospect to repair, but still apparently possible. Right, so let's get stuck into these and see what we find. Let's start by powering up each of these on my isolation transformer. So that, I think, is the cable for the bottom one. Oh, did you hear that? I'll see if I can get it so you can hear that. Okay, so that's just making an interesting noise, that power supply. And let's try the upper one. No funny noises, but no power up. Oh, hang on, don't forget the on-off switch at the back. It's already on, because there is an on-off switch at the back. So that's totally dead. Okay, should we start with the one making a funny noise? Because that might just be capacitor trouble. But there's one thing. Should I try the scrap deck? I'm a bit worried about that. I'm not sure what state this is in, but it looks relatively intact. Interestingly, this has got a different colour mains cable than the others. Filthy dirty. Okay, let's try this one as well. I heard a relay go click. Oh, and the clock came on. But oh, this is much the most promising one. That leaves me with a quandary, doesn't it? Could I even put a tape in here? Oh! Fast forward's not really working. Rewind works. And play is trying to work. Eject. So apart from the fact it's missing the front door, it's not too bad. The display's a little dim perhaps. And I have a label which I'd written on it what was wrong with it, but my label has somewhat faded away. Capacitors on SS11 board. Which one's that? Okay, I'm kind of in the position of where do I start? I think I might like to, if it's not too hard to take the power supply out, I might like to borrow this power supply, which we know is good, and see what it does in the other two machines, before I then decide which of the machines I'm going to start working on. Alright, I think we'll make a start with this one. It's a bit of an unknown. This is the one that's completely dead. So we'll have a quick look at the power supply in here. It looks like it's been apart at some point because the lid isn't quite on straight. Fuse is okay. I don't remember how to take the power supply out of these. It can't be that hard. Probably just lots of screws. Yeah, these two screws here on this top rail are loose. So someone's been here before. You may have to take this board out of the way. There we go. I'm going to unplug the connectors from here, I think. We can just have a look at this power supply and then we can go ahead and swap it for the one that we know works and see if there's any life in this machine. So just taking the connectors off. Fairly sure there's no possibility of getting them muddled up. So far they are different sizes. I don't like pulling them by the wires, but sometimes you just don't get enough room to do anything else. Okay, that's the power supply removed from the machine that seems to be completely dead. This, I think, is a DC to DC converter, and that's a Mark II one with the holes in it. So that could be very useful, even if the rest of this never works, because the Mark II DC-DC converters are much more repairable than the Mark Is. Okay, let's borrow the power supply out of the machine, which seems to power up. This is the one with a truly hideously dirty power cable. So I'm going to have to go through the same sequence, pretty much. I want to keep the screws separate. The screw here is supposed to have, it seems, an earthing cable on it. And I don't think it did on the other one. Okay, we're at the same point now. We need to disconnect the various connectors here. Right, so this is the believed good power supply. This has a Mark I DC-DC converter in it. Amazing that's still working. Right, I'll fit this to the lower machine, but I think I'll just clean this mains cable up first. Well, believe it or not, it actually is supposed to be the same coloured mains cable. That was just dirt making it black. Why? Goodness. It's going to take a lot more cleaning up this, but at least we're not going to get covered in grot every time I touch the thing. Right, we can install this power supply in our target machine, which, if you remember, is the one that was totally dead before, and we just want to see what this one does, just to fill in a picture of what we have here. Okay, had to be a bit careful. Initially I got some of these muddled up, and you really don't want to do that. So we can drop this power supply into its place. Careful with this earthing lead, that doesn't touch anything it shouldn't. And see if this machine does anything. Okay, the only screw I'm going to refit is this one with the earthing wire. Okay, we're ready to try this one, which has a known good power supply and working DC-DC converter, and the machine here is a complete unknown. So let's power it up. Nothing. Almost nothing. I can hear relay click in the power supply. Now, wouldn't you say, if you saw that machine, you'd say, that's a power supply fault. But we know it's not, because it's got a good power supply in it. So, don't know what's wrong with that one. I'm going to take the power supply out of that again. I think what I might like to do is fit it in the other machine the one whose power supply was squealing and see what we get out of that. So this is just a way of finding out what we have. The other thing, of course, that might be worth trying is, now we know that this one behaves like it has a bad power supply even when it has a good one, that means the power supply that we've taken out of this might be good. So that's also worth testing in another machine. Right. Okay, so this is our good power supply. This is the machine that seems to be completely dead. We'll put that one to one side. So we're going to try the known good power supply in the machine that is the squealer. Right. So this is our squealer. There's a screw missing from the top panel there. Okay, here's the squealer, and this also has the benefit of a Mark II DC-DC converter. Okay, let's drop in the known good power supply for this one, and I see that this earthing cable that sometimes is on the top there could also be fitted to the back here. I guess it doesn't matter just as long as it's fitted. Okay, so we have this one switched on at the back, all the connectors are on. So this is the known good power supply, albeit the old DC converter, in the machine that was previously squealing. So now we can see what it does. The display is very dim, and mechanically it's struggling. So it's spinning the left spool, the supply spool. Eventually it stops and the eject light is flashing, so it's very unhappy. I'm just spinning the loading motor a little bit, the front loading motor a little bit. Nope, that's fully ejected, that's correct. And the deck is fully unlaced, so it clearly has some mechanical issue and it's still flashing eject. I don't think I'm going to put a tape in this because bad things might happen. The left motor, left spool is spinning when I switch it on, and the right spool is sort of stalled, like it has a bad Hall effect sensor maybe. So this one has mechanical issues and an extremely dim display. Oh, hang on, is the display set to dim? Let's try bright. Yeah, switch is stuck. Maybe somebody's put the front panel on without aligning it properly. It might be that somebody's jammed that by taking the front panel off and allowing this to fall and jam that switch. So we don't really know if the display's in bright or dim mode. Okay, so mechanical issues on this one. The other thing I wanted to try was, we have the power supply which came out of the machine that appeared to be dead, which we now believe has other issues that make it look dead. So should I try the power supply in this one and just confirm we get the same results? So let's put the untested power supply in here. Okay, so this is the power supply that came out of the machine that was apparently dead. I'm not happy about this. This earthing strap, I think that's not supposed to be on this, it's supposed to be on here. That might have been a production change. Okay, so if this power supply is good, we'll see the same, that this machine will still sit there making whirring noises and the display will come on dim. That would be good because it would mean that we've exonerated that power supply. display. Right. Okay, so we know we have a good power supply there, and that's got the Mark II DC-DC converter. So that's going to be my favourite power supply now for proceeding with working on any other machine. Right, you see, we're making some progress, aren't we? I'm not sure yet which machine I'm going to work on first, but this is the one with now the good power supply and with the mechanism that's doing weird things. And I think I might like to start by just checking the loading belt in this one. So this belt here, oh, that is pretty slack. That belt there has had better days. So let's change that and see if the mechanism is a little happier. Got a belt here which is actually for a Sanyo beta video recorder, but I think that's going to fit nicely. Okay, let's power it up now. Might have just got that into the right position. That seems correct and proper. What's going on? Does that seem to like it's struggling slightly? May need a little lubrication. Let's just try a tape in there for a moment. I like to use these dual window tapes so you can see what's going on a little bit better. Oh, that's a bit slow and laboured, isn't it? Okay, try fast forward. Oh, that sounds good. Rewind. Looks good. Try play. Mechanically okay. Make sure it keeps going because they can stop after a few seconds for various reasons. Both wheels turning nicely. Freeze frame. Picture search. Reverse picture search. Good. Eject. Oh, that's struggling a little bit there, isn't it? Okay, so let's apply a little light oil or grease to the loading gears and see where we are. It's not happy. I've just switched it on and it's flashing the eject light. Ah, there we go. It's still struggling to turn this. I want to exercise this a few times if I can. Right, I think I've got that into the correct position. It's still struggling to complete the unlace fully. We may have to take this assembly off here and have a look underneath. But it's showing signs of life. I'm going to try a little aerosol grease down in here to try to get that end part of the unload cycle to work better. Power it up now. Well, it succeeded in doing full unlace then, but it's still making a bit of a meal of it, isn't it? Yeah, it's still a bit slow and laboured there, but it is succeeding in completing a whole lace and unlace. So we might leave that for a minute and come back to it once we've worked out what other problems this machine may have. Alright, I think at this point I'll properly refit the power supply and the back panel so that that's safe and secure. So that's just a case of fitting the screws around the power supply and refitting this back panel. Right, though I have plenty of things to fix on this, I'm sure, one thing that's really properly annoying me is the dim display because of this stuck switch. So I'm going to take the front panel off and find out why that's stuck, and then we can have a look and see if we get a picture out of it and go from there. Also, we have the cosmetics of this falling down. There's a bit of plastic missing there that's supposed to hold it up, so that'll be another repair for much later. That was an interesting noise. I just heard something fall inside the machine as I was undoing this screw. Wonder what that was. I'm going to have to take the bottom off and take a look. Okay, so the bright dim switch is this one. Yes, so the switch was in the low position on the front, but on the high position internally. Although it didn't look that bright. But what you need to do when you reassemble the front panel on these, as with a lot of Sony gear actually, is put all the switches to the bottom, then let gravity take these to the bottom, and then put the front panel on. So we're not going to get any more brightness out of the display, but at least the switch will work. Now, I need to take the bottom off because I heard an interesting noise just now. It sounded like a screw rolling around. Remember I said there was only one of the two screws originally from this board. Maybe the other one's rolling around at the bottom of the machine. So let's fish that out if that's the case. And I don't want to turn the machine over because the screw will tend to fall back into the machine. So I need to keep it on its side anyway. It's a bit chewed up, that one. Yeah, you can hear that screw rolling around in that. It's not actually chewed up, that screw. It's full of some sort of black gunge. Right, take the bottom off. Oh, and that's the screw we had rolling around in there. It's not the one from the PCB. In fact, it doesn't really look like a screw from this machine at all. Don't know what that is. Since we've got the bottom off, I'll have a quick look at the bottom of the deck. I'm not sure how much we can see, I can't remember. Possibly not very much, but I'll have a quick look. All kinds of bodge wires on this, isn't there? Okay, I can see the conductive glue. It's not supposed to be conductive, but it is on the Hall effect sensor. I'll just scratch some of that off. Okay, a little bit of preventative maintenance there. Okay, that's all looking fine. I'll put the screws back in this panel and then we'll give it a whirl, shall we? Okay, not sure what's on this tape. We'll find out. Oh, I left it partly laced. Unlace. Fast forward. That didn't quite go to plan. Last time it did a fast forward, but this time it didn't. Can't do fast forward or rewind. It's trying to play, but it's squealing. There's a picture there though. Just still and try freeze for picture search, one frame at a time. So why is it not fast forward and rewinding? Well, let's try this other tape again. Nope, no fast forward now. Ah, how disappointing. Alright, that's my own silly fault. I think I got some grease on the lower drum. I thought I'd cleaned it all off, but obviously not. Let's try again. Try fast forward. Still not quite working. Just trying it in forward picture search for a moment. Or slow forward mode at the moment. And normal play. And what we're looking at, I think, the heads look a little worn, but that could be the tape actually. I'll get a better tape in a minute. Trying the tracking to one end and back again. Actually, it's looking okay. Just seeing tails from highlights, but I think that could be this tape. Do you have any sound? Yep. Okay, I'll leave that playing for a minute. This tape now has got contamination on it and anyway is not giving very good pictures, so I might just junk this tape. What about ×2 speed? That didn't look so good. Try that again. ×2. Picture mutes. Back to play. Huh. So in ×2 the picture just mutes. That's not supposed to happen. Freeze frame. The picture mutes. Forward picture search. That looks pretty good. Reverse picture search. Fine. Still. So all the still features, the picture mutes. Perhaps that's because it's using extra heads and those heads are contaminated. That could be the case, you know. The trick functions I think use extra heads on the C9. Okay, well I'll try another tape, but that's definitely coming along. Rewind. Does this support peep search or beta skip scan? I think not. You press the rewind, during rewind nothing happens. On many models of beta machine, and indeed lots of other machines, such as nearly all Video 8s and mini DVs, you press the rewind button during rewind and it drops into picture search. The display is dim on certain segments more than others, which means it's the display itself which is contaminated. I may swap it with one of the others later. Yeah, I'm not seeing a blacktails on that tape, so I do believe that was a bad tape, that bad recording. We'll get rid of that one. Okay, but if we try freeze frame, will it just mute again? Oh no, well not quite. It's definitely looking like a contaminated or knackered head for the trick functions. What about ×2 speed? Yeah, again it's awful. It may just clean itself up. We'll leave it playing, I think. Okay, I've left the tape playing for some hours. I've had enough of watching Crossroads. I've also run a cleaning tape through it, but still we have the problem that freeze frame and ×2 is terrible, but picture search is fine. So I think we have probably a bad head in there. Whether that's worth fixing, I don't know. There's also some cosmetics. There's the slightly dim display, although it's not unreadable, and trying to get the front panel to stay shut, the front closing section here. The eject is now working completely reliably, so at least that's solved. Rewind can be a little slow and lumpy, but some of the time it's okay, and it certainly manages to rewind to the beginning of the tape okay. One thing I'll try and do now, I'll see if we can inspect the video head tips using the microscope, but there's not a lot of room and it may not be possible to see them, but let's give it a go. Okay, it's really hard to see the head tips here, so what I've done, you can maybe just about work out I've got going on here. The microscope's looking down here at a mirror, and the mirror is looking at the head. but the mirror isn't the world's best quality, and we're getting sort of reflections from two surfaces within the mirror. But I think we can just about see what's going on here. So zooming in on the head tips as best we can. Well, I do seem to have contamination on the heads, so it's definitely going to be worth cleaning those up. So you can see is that one head there, and spinning it round, two heads there. I think I can see two windings on that one. So not sure which is which, but they definitely look like they could use a bit of cleaning up. Although the front surface is what does the actual pickup, and that looks okay. But I'll get some head cleaner sticks and have a go at cleaning this up. This is quite hard because I'm working in mirror, so everything goes the opposite way to what I expect. What might not be incredibly obvious to you, but it is to me looking at the real thing, is that head tip is clean. That head tip is clean. So, right, that's one of them definitely cleaned up. Let's do the other one. This is the more dubious looking one. There we go. Nicely focused. You can see the head surface glistening. That means it is clean. Spin around to the other one, and again you can see the glisten of the head tip. So they are clean. If we don't get freeze frame now, then we have a defective head. Okay, so let's give that one more go. So there's Benny in his hat. Let's try to freeze frame him. No, it's not going to happen. Okay. But picture search is okay. Okay, so what would you do with this machine? I mean, one of the big selling features of the C9 are its trick functions, and this doesn't have them unless I change the head drum over. There's also the other issues, including, and something I hadn't mentioned, there's the rechargeable battery, the battery backup, which should be replaced as well. So, anyhow, I think we've got this machine into reasonable state. I'd like to look at one of the other machines in my next video. Not the one that appears to be completely dead, but the one that was supposed to be scrap. Maybe I can get some life out of that one, and if that's got a bad, I think it said SS1 board, I could possibly borrow that from the completely dead machine, and maybe we can get some life out of that machine as well. So we'll stop there for now. I hope you've enjoyed what we've done here. I'll do plenty more content on audio and video technology in the near future. Bye for now. Now this service manual doesn't tell us anything about head changing. This is the schematics primarily. But I see somebody has left some interesting information about defective CPU chip. These manuals are very good.